Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Tooele Happy Hour, starring Jared Anderson and David Weiss, where if head trauma had a podcast, it would sound just like this.
So, we're bringing in Chase right now, and he'll come on. Chase runs a podcast out here, isn't it? Where's he out of?
He's out of Utah somewhere.
Out of Utah somewhere, but he's a conservative teenager. So everyone hold the phone because it's kind of wild. All right, can you hear us, Chase?
Yeah, I can hear you great. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right.
So, Chase, you're a teenager and a conservative. So, how did that happen? I thought all teenagers nowadays were supposed to be questioning their everything and not have a clue as to what's going on.
You're not, it's crazy right now. I think right now being a teen conservative is super unpopular. Like you said, a lot of kids my age are don't even know what gender they are. They don't even know what they're doing. I'm a conservative. Really, it just comes down to my values, what I've been taught. I love this country. I love our freedoms, and in my religious views have really played into that. And I've never felt the need to join the side that likes to say there's 20 different genders, say that they're oppressed, say that all this different things when we live in the greatest country in the world with the most freedom. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I would like to get a benchmark from you about as a teenager, what is conservative to you? What is your conservative ideals? Just to kind of get a benchmark, see if there's a difference between us old guys and our thoughts on it and the young people coming up and what we have to look forward to.
Right. Honestly, I think it just comes down to conserving traditional values, the traditional values that our country was founded upon of God, family, country, and freedom. Conservative means conserving something, and we're getting to the point where that's all those values are being lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a conservative because I believe in those values, and that's what to me means conservative. So.
Okay.
When did you have the notion that you were actually interested in politics? Because I'm thinking back to when I was 17. I don't even think I knew the difference between a Republican and a Democrat.
Right. Yeah,
I knew that my dad called it a ball licking Democrat, I believe was the words he used for him. But go on. I apologize. Don't repeat that in school.
No, you're good. Really it comes down to back in 2020, all the craziness that went on. I was in 8th grade, 14 years old. Before that, I didn't really care about politics. Like back in 2016, I knew about the election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and I watched that a little bit, but I still had no idea really what either of them stood for, stuff like that. Then it came to 2020, and school got let out because of COVID. All this stuff's happening, and in my mind, I'm just like, what is going on? This is crazy. And, I was honestly just kind of getting sick of the lockdowns, the mandates, stuff like that. And then May came around where, we saw the BLM riots and all that stuff. And that really just kind of was like a call to action in a way for me. I was like, our country isn't where it was. I can clearly tell that, or I can see that clearly. And I want to do something about it. I want to use my voice. And I started educating myself. I started to educate myself on, what do Republicans believe, what Democrats believe. And I found myself mostly, I'm aligned with the Republican Party because the values, their values match mine mostly. And so really it just came down to me educating myself and after the craziness of 2020 and really just wanting to use my voice as a young person in this country.
Did you have like a mentor in school that could help you kind of like come out of the closet on this, or
Not no
Come
not
out of the closet. Ugh.
no,
let's
not
face it,
really.
it's got to be kind of a ostracizing,
In school, I'm sure it is.
self-imposed thing.
Probably not as bad out here. Well, where are you at?
I'm up in Cache Valley.
Cache Valley? Huh, it may not be too
right.
bad. In a big city up there, or one of the small ones?
I'm from Smithfield, so
Smith. Okay, so
pretty
that's a
pretty
small one. Yeah, so he was fine. It wasn't like he got an outcast. Could you imagine coming out in Taylorsville or Murray? I mean, they tar and feather you before gym class.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty good up here. There's not a lot of pushback. I mean, since I've started doing this, I've had pushback from people, but you'll just get that anywhere. But no, I didn't really have a mentor, so to say. I just kind of went into it, and then I found people along the way to kind of go along this journey with.
Good. Now, I do have to, and I don't want this to just be a grilling, but Tim asked a good question. What's your thoughts on war? Should the government force religion on people? And so I want to, we're older, so we remember the Republican Party of 20 years ago was different than it is now.
Right.
And the Republican Party of 30 years ago was wildly different than it is now. And
Right.
I personally, I think it's just because the party in power becomes kind of ridiculous, and the party out of power has to bring people in. They're the ones that always involve the moderates, and they have to become
Right.
bigger tent. But what are your thoughts on war?
Obviously, war is never good, and not a lot of good comes out of going to war. And I want to take a second here and just thank our veterans, thank for all the people who serve, for all that they do in fighting for our country. But it's a hard topic because no one really wants it, but there's always the leaders that are looking for it. You look at what's going on in Ukraine, and people saying, will this start World War III? What will happen there? And honestly, I think that our leadership here in our country is doing too much and will eventually lead us potentially into another war, which it won't be good for anybody. So
I agree. I may stand alone with you on that, but I think that, we need to start looking for a non-lead exchanging position. But
Yeah, and that's such a stark contract from when I was younger. Like in my 20s, like when I was 21 or so, it was 9/11 just happened, and God, I couldn't wait to throw myself into the crusade.
yeah,
I'll be honest. I'm looking back now, and I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? I was just, I was rip roaring to go, and
well, you're also from New York, so you were
Yeah.
closer to the epicenter. But then again, a lot of young men from everywhere signed up.
well, I think if another event like 9/11 were to happen, which pray to God that it doesn't, I feel like me and many others would want to, go fight for our country, right? It's that sense of patriotism. So, I mean, we are
Maybe.
living in sort of a different time. So,
I do wonder
don't
if
know.
you guys would be tempered by, wait a second, something bad happened, and the earnestness and the willingness to defend the country that came from the populace. That was great, but we still see how the politicians squandered all of that good, all the goodness of the people that rose up.
Right. I agree.
Hopefully, I don't know, but so tell us about your podcast. Tell us about what you do on it.
Yeah. So my podcast, it's called The Conservateen. I made the name pretty simple. I'm a conservative. I'm a teen. Kind of put that together. I've had it for over a year now. I started it in December. Let's see, it was December 27th of 2021. And I just wanted to use it as a way to get my voice as a teen conservative out there in any way, shape, or form, and reach as many people as I could, whether that be five, to whether that be a ton. I just wanted to get my voice out there, and I've used the show to interview various people across the conservative movement, so to say. I've used it to talk to other young teenagers like me who believe in the same things that I do, and we just talk about it. And we talk about what it's like being a teen conservative. We talk about what we can do to preserve our values, to preserve the values of our country, and so yeah, I've really enjoyed doing it, and I'm hoping to keep on doing it for many years to come. So.
So what are some of the notable conversations you've had with other teens? Are you guys building a network? What are we talking here?
Yeah, so I've met a lot of different people along the way. One of the biggest, not biggest, one of the best friends that I've made along the journey. I don't know if you've heard of her. Her name's Caroline Smith. She's the host of the Patriot Talk. She lives down in Alabama, but she's gotten pretty big. And since I've met her, the kind of network of young teens has kind of grown with the people that she knows, the people that I know. And, I keep in touch with a lot of them. In the episodes that I've done with some younger teens, we talk about, just the issues that are going on. We talk about transgenderism and that whole thing, and how is that affecting, the youth and stuff like that. And then we just kind of talk about how can we keep our country great. I mean, like I said earlier. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Are you ready for, I'm going to guess 4 years from now, when it becomes the new phrase cisgenderism appears on the stage, and you got to come out as cis and go get therapy to be cis and all that?
Honestly, it scares me because I look down the road to my future, like when I have a family, when I have kids, and I think about how it is now, and I know it's going to be 10 times worse for my kids. And so that's why I'm trying to use my voice as much as I can now to make any sort of change that I can.
It may be, but then again, when I was your age, you're what, 17?
Yeah.
So it would have been 1993. We just come out of the Satanic Panic, and we were just starting into religious organizations and some parents wanting to require schools to teach intelligent design in biology class, which was kind of a part of the apex of that political pendulum that's always swinging. And back then, when I was your age, I looked into the future and I thought, I mean, I wasn't political at all, but I just saw the winds are going to turn, and this is going to be a total lockstep control of a evangelical right movement. And I think the backlash is surprising. I mean, where we are now is from the momentum of the left fighting against that. And now the left is at their apex. So right. I don't know. Maybe you might get lucky and be able to raise kids without them having to be proselytized in Marxist schools. But I don't know.
I'm praying for that. I'm praying for that.
Yeah.
Is there a particular political subject that you like to dabble in, that you'd say specialize in? Is it economics? Is it geopolitics? Is it, where do you kind of find your interest leaning?
I wouldn't necessarily say I have one certain topic or something like that I really like to pin down on. I really just like to cover a lot of things, but one thing that I will say I'm really passionate about is, the the abortion topic, discussing that, um, I really like to put a lot of focus on um, the pro life movement, because that's an issue that's really near and dear to me, because you know it just, I don't know, I don't know if you guys want me to get down that hole or anything, but I
Yeah, go
that's
into it.
something that's
If it's your subject, let's hear it.
yeah. So honestly, abortion is a really big concern for me, because I just I don't see how it's good in any way. To me, that is the leading genocide in our country, in our world, with millions and millions of babies being killed. Um, it's a human rights issue to me, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I feel like everyone has the right to live, and so and that shouldn't be taken away. Um, and I mean, we can argue about whether or not when life begins, but there are people that don't care when it begins. They simply just want their abortion. And my biggest thing is when people use abortion for birth control, then that makes it even worse for me.
How does this work out when you broach this subject with other students?
Most of the younger people that I have had these conversations with are pro-life, but I actually, not too long ago, it was a couple months ago, I had posted a reel on Instagram. It was a reel where I kind of pointed out um, misconceptions or statements that uh, pro-choice people like to put out there. And I had a bunch of people that actually go to school with me come on and comment on the post saying that I should be aborted, stuff like this, and for simply like speaking up for the lives of the unborn. And I just thought it was absolutely ridiculous. But luckily, I haven't had too many encounters like that. That was one of very few times. So,
Well, just remember when you have encounters like that, and they bring to you the arguments that they have for their side, you got to be ready to respond with a proper argument, and
right,
that helps build the memory muscles, the political muscles. And swimming upstream is always more helpful than just being the drifter going downstream, because you build strength.
right,
And don't feel ashamed or afraid or scared of
right.
it. Embrace it, because if you're going into this kind of an environment, you got to be ready to swim upstream,
Right.
and swimming upstream is what will make you stronger.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I try to tell myself every time something like that comes up. I got to like stay strong with my point, and because at the end of the day, I believe that I'm fighting for the right thing. So that's why I keep pushing forward. So
That is the ultimate wedge issue, too.
Well, here's something to think about though too, as we're approaching the more futuristic age. I posted a video recently on my Facebook. It was about the Ecto Lab. So now they're talking about gestating the fetuses and the babies inside of laboratories where they can be controlled and more genetically altered or modified. As a conservative, how would you feel about that kind of technology being used in society rather than just random womb impregnating or something like that, like we currently
so,
have?
so you're talking about like the artificial wombs, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's terrible for society. I think we're getting to the point where they're playing God.
Mm-hmm.
It's a brave new
And
world and Demolition Man all mixed into one, and got to learn to use 3 seashells and
right.
get fined when I curse, and then yeah, this is going to be fun. It's going to be a wild ride.
But if you can get rid
For
of
sure.
abortion,
Oh,
that would be the compromise, wouldn't it?
Here's a religious question from a non-religious guy. Is the threat of pregnancy, was it a tool designed by a creator to keep morality front and center?
Maybe it's a little too deep for me, but you'd have to elaborate a little bit.
is pregnancy a design from a creator to keep morality, front and center in your life, in your marriage? Because how's our divorce rates nowadays that pregnancy is not an issue? How's, just, and I'm an atheist asking this question. I don't know. I think it's interesting.
That's a deep question that you definitely need to think about.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
biologically, I mean, let's say Jared's a girl.
Jared's
and you
a
have
girl.
to select somebody who's going to be there for you for that full 9 months.
You're
you're laid up on your back.
I'm not going to wander around, spreading my legs for any old D-bag.
I mean, back then that was a life and death decision.
It was.
Nowadays,
Nowadays, it's a Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, that's true. And how does that reflect in the terms of the relationships that we're having between man and woman
Yeah.
in the United States now? I mean, I've seen train wreck of relationships that should have never existed.
I'm shocked when I see relationships pan out nowadays. I'm when you meet someone who's maintained a first marriage, it's shocking.
Well, I know I don't think I'm going anywhere. I don't think I can.
Well, no,
So-
he'll kill you. But you married a Brazilian. That's your fault.
So okay, abortion as an issue. And have you interviewed local politicians in your area for Cache County? Do you stay involved with local politics?
Have I talked to them about abortion specifically, or just in general?
Just in general.
Yeah. So I've actually done a couple of interviews with State Representative Mike Peterson,
Mhm.
and then State Senator Chris Wilson. So I've done some interviews with them, just talking about just issues surrounding our state, our country, etc. So yeah, and I was actually trying to get down to the Capitol this session, and then try to interview a few other legislators down there, but it didn't end up working out. But it's definitely something I want to continue to try to do, get more local politicians on, and just talk about the issues that we're facing.
Good. I think Jared always explains it to me best. When we stay local, we can influence more deeply. We
Right.
can have a stronger influence the more local we stay. And that makes sense. I mean, if we're trying to talk to our state representatives versus our federal representatives, I mean, we're going to get the ear of our state representatives a lot easier.
Better yet, the mayor and the city council.
Right.
You can make change happen on that level.
Well, we talk to a lot of people on the show, and if you are going to continue on this journey, you'll probably want some contacts. And let me make this offer to you. Do you want us to send people your way when we meet them as well for interviews?
That would be great. That would be greatly appreciated. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
That's good. And I dig what you're doing. A teenager that's I don't want to say woke, but that is awake and recognizing the importance that politics plays in their future is impressive.
Right. And we need more people, young people, because, I always say it, we're the future. We need to educate ourselves now and, get involved now so that we can know how to lead this state, this country, to continue doing what we need to do. So yeah, as a teen in politics, a lot of people don't necessarily agree with it. They're like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not smart enough. You're too young, or I have friends that just think it's ridiculous. But, I know that I'm on the right path, and I'm trying to do something good. So
There's obviously parts of politics you don't understand, but there's
Right.
parts of politics that nobody understands. So
exactly.
don't feel left out. I want to kind of drift back to this teenager thing, and like in your local school, do you have a lot of people in your school that are, like, say, questioning their gender? Is that a common thing?
I wouldn't say as much as other places, but there are some. And but it's kind of hard to tell because you never sometimes you're like wondering, are you a guy or are you a girl or are you even transitioning? You never know. And so
Mm.
it's kind of hard to tell sometimes, but there are some, but not as much as I'd say in like down in Salt Lake or bigger cities outside of the state.
It does make me wonder, the momentum of this is spreading. It's there, and it, and I don't know if it's intentional, but it is feeding from it's feeding from the teachers and the school system and the popular politics and
Right.
the rock stars, and it's okay. But yeah, Tim says it's a social contagion, and it is. It's a contagion where you're just a normal dude. You walk into class, you're not going to get a standing ovation led by the teacher.
Right.
But if you walked into class tomorrow, pick the class, pick the teacher, and said, I'm coming out as homosexual, you would get a standing ovation.
Right.
And that would filter through other kids in the class who maybe aren't good at athletics, or, unlike Dave, they're not a mathlete, or, maybe barely signed their name like myself. They're never going to get a standing ovation. So, hey, all I got to do is play the game for a little bit.
Right.
It's
a lot of time
self-validation.
Yeah. I think a lot of it comes down to kids are lacking the attention, so to say, and even love sometimes. They go where they get attention or they feel loved. And the sad thing is that a lot of times nowadays that's where kids are finding it.
Yeah, praise is addictive. And they
Right.
want some praise, Yeah, nobody wants to be invisible. You don't learn that until you get about, 2 days into basic training, and you recognize invisibility is the way to live. But prior to that, you don't want to be invisible.
Right. Exactly. And I don't know. It's like you'd said, it's a social contagion, and kids are being drawn towards it. And the sad thing is, people in power are pushing it.
They are.
And like you said, the popular politics. As a kid, you look at like the more left side of things, and you're like, this is appealing, because they like to make it really appealing to young voters, to young people, through various things. Because like I always say, that to the naked eye, the Democratic Party platform may look really good to somebody if they're not educated, but if they're educated, then they'll start to almost see reality, and then they'll hopefully come to their senses. But yeah, it's honestly getting sad, and it's getting crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna get I don't know. I'm hoping that pendulum's coming back.
So a lot of adults are wondering about school nowadays, about litter boxes in the hallways. Is it true? Do you have any litter boxes in the hallways?
No, I'm proud to say that we don't have any litter boxes, but
that's still just a Twitter prank that was pulled. It's not a real thing.
Well, there was a school by me. There was actually this girl who identified as a cat, and like wrote a letter or something. Her parents wrote a letter to the principal asking for a litter box in the bathroom. and this girl sadly really thought that she was a cat. She wrote her essays in meows, and the teacher wouldn't grade it, and the parents got mad.
Oh.
And you thought it was just a prank, huh?
Oh,
Yep, we're really there, Jared. Meow.
this.
It's
Oh,
it's not good. But luckily, not in my school.
you
We're
come
not
walk around
there
the
yet.
corner and she's sitting on the floor with one leg up on vacation. Oh, good hell.
I'm like, why should you be at school if you think you're a cat? Go have a litter box at your house.
Jesus.
But
Oh, that's crazy.
yeah, it is. And the sad
Oh.
the sad thing is it's way worse other places. So
All right. What's your extracurriculars?
so I've played soccer. I just stopped playing. Other than that, I don't really do much, but I've been trying to get some conservative clubs started up at my school, and we'll hopefully end up getting that done and started next year. Um, so yeah, there's not a whole lot, but that's about it.
What about getting a debate club and I think a debate something or another built up,
Well,
build up those chops and then not just a conservative club, but maybe kind of as much as I hate to say this, but like a model UN, because I mean, I think it'd be pretty cool to push the replacement for young Ben Shapiro out.
right. Well,
A young
actually,
guy who's fast and quick and
yeah,
smart and practiced.
yeah. So at my school, we actually have a debate program. I'm not a part of it, but they're pretty good. But I just remembered next year I am going to be doing We the People. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's kind of like debate, but you focus more on constitutional matters, stuff like that. So I'm hoping to do that too. So
Are you talking about We the People Radio or?
no.
No, that's
So
we
it's
are
like
the people.
yeah, it's a program. It's like yeah, it's a nationwide program that various schools and stuff. So
Good. I like it. I'm going to look into that. No, I think that's great. It is. Here's the downside. The one downside we have is we work so hard as adults and get a couple of you young guys all built up and trained, and you can recognize fallacies and political arguments and everything else. We cut you loose on the world and you just become pundits every time. You don't become like Ben Shapiro would be a highly effective congressman, like him or hate him. He would be very effective in Congress, in Senate, even in, state rep when he was in California. He could have been very effective. And
I agree.
He's a pundit. He just,
How so?
what do you mean, how so?
How so? How do you feel he's a pundit?
That's all he does. He's just a pundit.
I don't know. I think he has a lot more influence than just talking.
That's exactly what a pundit is.
He does more. I think he goes out and he does outreaches and
Sure.
he
And that's
helps people get to where they need to be.
That's exactly what they are. But how would it have been for California to have him poking holes in some of their radicalism and maybe salvaging that state?
Good luck. Come on.
Yeah,
there are some things that can't be done.
I agree. But no, but I think that's good. I think you're on a good path.
You can reach more people on the internet with your voice than you can in some stuffy office representing a constituency. If you're effective, and Ben Shapiro is effective. He's not my favorite, but dang, I listen to the guy. I can't help but listen to the guy.
Okay.
He makes some excellent points.
And
he's reaching people that probably might not have ever been
Sure,
reached.
he's reaching people that turn around and vote for the same thing every 4 years.
Yeah, well, political IQ.
He hasn't fixed anything. He's getting wealthy. He's making a lot more money than he would as a politician.
I think he brings some pretty good issues to the floor.
Sure, he does.
Which is the point.
He does.
His point.
And then in 4 years, the same thing happens.
Well, if people are going to vote Republican or Democrat. They're not going to vote third party libertarian or something.
It doesn't have to be third party libertarian. They could fix their parties from within. But we don't have time or energy. So what we need is good people in those offices.
So you're going to run?
Not a good person. You know this.
Hey, let me ask you this about the flag issue. We just had a podcast talking about the flag. People are trying to prevent it from changing and morphing into this new manipulatable flag. I suppose it's kind of like a superhero type coloration of different shapes. I'm sure you've seen the new flag. What's your opinion on that?
Personally, I want the old flag to stay, and I've signed the referendum. I've tried to get my voice out there used a little bit, but honestly, I don't understand why we even need a new flag. I think that there was no point in trying to push through this whole flag thing. I think that it should have just been placed on the ballot for the people to decide in November. I think it shouldn't have taken up so much time, because there are other issues that we could be focusing on, but instead a few selective legislators wanted so badly to push through this flag for marketing reasons almost. And I think it should have automatically went to the people to decide, because it's not an issue that needs to be voted on right then and there by legislators. But yeah, I really hope that we can save our flag and we can have the old one stay.
Good. Let me ask you another question. This would be prior to your awakening, but what was the House bill to legalize marijuana 7 years ago or however long?
Gosh.
And the populace voted to legalize it, and then our politicians stepped in and said, "Oh, well, we can't have that." So they kicked sand in the face of the electorate. But what are your thoughts on situations like that? Because that's a time where it was obviously a conservative leading, group of politicians that, ignored the vote of the populace, the will of the people.
Right. So on that specific issue, obviously I don't have a firm opinion on that, because I don't, I haven't done too much education on that certain thing. But when it comes to different ballot initiatives and stuff like that, where it gets put to the people, I think that for the most part, their voice should be heard. And the majority, even if the legislature disagrees, the people's voice should override that.
Agree 100%.
Because the legislators are supposed to be representing the people, but if they're not, then the people should have some power over them. Well, we do. We should have all the power over them.
Obviously, unless it's something damaging, which
right, exactly.
Argue how you want. I mean, facts are in. Marijuana isn't the big evil that they've made it out to be. It's not good, but it's not the big evil either.
Yeah, you're right. If there was something that could hurt a group of people, a large group of people, that could hurt the state, whatever it may be, then yes, the legislature should step in. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when the government has more authority and control, the people are more enslaved. When the people are more in power of their government is enslaved. And
the government works real hard to figure out how to lie to you to get you back in step.
It's almost like a living creature, like a cancer trying to eat you.
Cancer. The best way to explain. Maybe a maggot. No, that's good. That's good. I like it. And I like that you're I mean, obviously you're going to learn and grow and learn more. So it's good. It's good you're out there doing that.
Right. Yeah. I try to educate myself as much as I can, because I know I don't know everything. I clearly don't. And, the only way of getting to there is to educate myself, which is, I think, not just young people, but all people should be doing,
Yeah.
and not just using their emotions to push a point.
And it's not hard to do nowadays. Like now, all you
No,
have to do is log on and just
The
listen
internet.
to some information and absorb it in and process it the way that you feel would make logical sense. And we didn't
Right.
have that internet thing back in our days when we were kids. So
No, there was
the aces are in your hands, and you have an opportunity to really, really exploit that.
what
Right.
is your who are some of your conservative historical heroes? Like historical, I would say traditional conservatives,
yeah,
not the political heroes that apply to both sides like Washington and Jefferson and Jackson and whoever, but who are your conservative heroes?
um, that's a hard question. There are a lot of people that I consider my conservative heroes, but one guy that I've always really looked up to, always is Ronald Reagan. He's a guy that I've admired. He's I like he paved the way, I think, for kind of today's. Well, that's not necessarily true, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of how to say this, but he was just a really good president. He pushed traditional conservative values. He fought for limited government. He fought for the lives of the unborn. He made America strong. He's a guy that I've always looked up to. The way he was able to speak in front of a crowd, the way that he was able to get his point across while still being civil. He's a guy that's always been a favorite of mine.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, he's a good one. I would suggest if you like him, maybe harken back to kind of one of the guys who kind of inspired his movement was Barry Goldwater.
Right. With his famous speech at the
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, of course, Barry Goldwater fought for, and this is going to sound weird to everyone, he fought for liberalism in a time when it was losing popularity. And what I mean by liberalism is the ability to choose who you hang out with. And that kind of killed his momentum, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. I've actually read a lot about him and Reagan's relationship, and then Reagan's time for choosing speech at what was it, the Republican National Convention, or I believe something like that. But yeah, they were both really great conservatives in that time period, and that still reigns true to today.
Yeah. And we're kind of back in that point where Goldwater was, where conservatives were fighting for liberal ideas. They're in kind of Reagan's presidency, although I don't think Reagan was a part of this. The Conservative Party was not fighting for liberal ideas. They were more, well, they were in control. When you're in control, you lean towards authority.
Right.
But when you're out of control, all of a sudden individualism matters again.
Right. I agree. I kind of see where we're at right now as the point where Jimmy Carter was in office, and then that kind of transitioned to Reagan.
Yeah.
I see a lot of similarities between the two. So I always talk about with my friends is I feel like we're in that exact same time period, just 40, 50 years later.
God, that might mean that in 5 years we'll have some really awesome music coming out like in the 80s. Might be a fun time.
Maybe.
Smoking on airplanes.
5
again.
years now is like 15 years in the past, because it exponentially seems to increase in content with connectivity. I mean, I can only imagine what we're going to do in 10 years.
I know we keep playing in Ukraine and we might be reinventing the will in 5 years. So, hey.
So let me ask you this. Do you have any podcasters that you kind of draw inspiration from, or where do you absorb most of your content to process?
I listen to Ben Shapiro a lot. I've always loved listening to Ben. I think Ben was actually one of the first conservative podcasts I listened to. And then the girl that I mentioned earlier, Caroline Smith, she started a show and I started watching that. And that's what kind of also gave me motivation to speak up, because she's around my age and I saw someone else was doing it. So I can do it too. So I would say both of those people for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right. Well, we're coming up on the change into a different show, so we'll go through a few comments. But I just want to ask you real quick, because we'll get our news out. What do you think about Jacob Chansley being cut loose a little bit early?
That's hard because obviously I'm not fully educated on his whole situation. I've seen the videos, I've seen what happened, but from the videos that I saw, and it didn't seem like he was doing as much harm as they said he did, as there were videos of him being basically chauffeured around by the police.
Mm-hmm.
I think his punishment was far more harsh. Obviously, I don't know everything he did, so I can't make a fully educated, statement on that. But yeah, that's what I think. So.
Well, they didn't charge him with any destruction of property or anything, so that's kind of telling. Kind of makes you wonder, though. Do you think that was the first time since Davy Crockett that fur was worn in that building? Just had to throw it out there. I thought about.
I don't know.
Well, he's going to be famous when he gets out. I can only imagine.
Oh,
we got to get him on the show if we can. Oh my God, that'd be awesome.
Is his fame going to be a destructive fame or a positive fame? Like, I feel bad for Rittenhouse because his fame, because of his youth, I think he's been used a lot by lawyers. And so I don't know how that's going to play out in the end. And that concerns me because Rittenhouse, I think he's, 100% justified. I mean, if anything, you know me, I tend to like guys that shoot guns and do gun stuff. And I thought Rittenhouse carried on himself exceptionally. I mean, the kid, without any training to operate like that was smooth.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So, but it kind of feels like I don't know. I've heard that he seems to be coming kind of towards the end of his rope with being able to leverage that for a positive outcome for himself. And where Chansley's a little bit older, and it's not that when you're young, you're dumb. It's just that when you're a little older, you got more scars. It makes you
Right.
more leery of jumping into stuff. It's
Right.
It's not that you're any less able than he is.
No, I agree.
It's that he's had a few more scars. So he's learned. I mean, this sounds dumb to say, the guy who dressed like a buffalo and wandered into the freaking the house.
Sat in Nancy Pelosi's desk.
And sat at her desk and took selfies. Sounds dumb to say, but he's got a little more. Never mind. I should just shut up because as I say it, that just sounds.
Sometimes you're wrong, Jared.
Sometimes I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong a lot more than I'm right.
Yeah, he's young. Kyle Rittenhouse is young, so he's going to be very influential. He's got a lot of money. People are going to come out of the woodwork and try to influence him. And and hopefully, he's got a strong enough political mind to stay on the right side.
Everybody's coming after him. They're all coming after him too.
It's going to be one of those things he's going to have to deal with in life.
You've got old one-armed Willie coming after him, and then you got the child molester coming after him, and then you've got the wife beater coming after him, and there's probably some rando that was down the street on the same day who's filing a civil suit right now because, they heard about it through the grapevine a couple days later.
Yeah, I can only say that he should probably take all the money he's got and put it in Bitcoin and go hide for a while. I don't know. That's what I would do.
I don't know. All right, I've got to cut loose and get the other get our other guests who just pulled up. But thank you very much. It's been an honor talking to you. I'm going to leave you with Dave for a minute and let him close you out and go through any final comments. But we hope to have you on again, and if we're ever in the same place doing a meetup, that'd be great.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. And we'll talk to you soon.
Of course. You too.
Right.
And yeah.
Let's stay in touch, and I'm going to help find you a few guests. I know I have a few guests that are in your area that would probably really love to talk to you. I don't know if you're familiar with Kim Hamblin. She's running for a position in Cache County.
Yeah, Kim. I know Kim. I've met her a couple times. I campaigned with Andrew Badger, and so I met her there.
Oh, you campaigned with Andrew Badger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yep.
Yeah. So I met her there, and she's actually the aunt of one of my friends. So.
Okay. Well, we're having her on the show. So since you already know her, though, but building the networks in like podcasting for your age category is probably is it difficult? Do a lot of them communicate with each other and try to work off of each other and build content with one another, or do you find yourself kind of just like, what do I do next?
Yes and no. I mean, there's a lot of times where I'm just kind of like on my own, just kind of do what I do. But there's also a lot of other times where I have people that I've met through this, where we kind of connect, and we will either do episodes together or stuff like that, and kind of bounce ideas off each other. So yes or no to that.
Okay. Definitely. I'm going to try to help network with you as best I can. I want you to grow that show. I think what you're doing is going to be an amazing thing. I hope you stick with it through college and keep reaching out to your federal representatives as well. Get them on the show. Ask them the hard questions and stay loyal to your beliefs. I mean, you have a belief, you have a conviction, and I mean, allow people to tell you otherwise and from their perspective, but hear them out and digest that data, stay logical, and try to hold true to that value, because I think your generation's going to need it a lot more than people realize.
Right. And I want to say thank you so much for having me on. And thank you for what you guys do as well, bringing different people on. I've watched a lot of your guys' episodes actually, and I really enjoy listening to them. So thanks for what you're doing, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And so thank you so much for having me on.
Excellent. So ladies and gentlemen, that's the Conservateen. You can find him on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, either of those. Facebook is just Chayse Leavitt, and then on Instagram it's the Conservateen. So
yep. So hey, get out there, network with the guy. He needs some more content. Let's get it to him. Thank you for coming on, and I will be in touch with you. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. You have a good one.
You too.